Limiting factor is a very important topic for management accounting costing. Well, what is a limiting factor? Limiting factor is also known as key factor, which limits your activity, which hinders, which is an obstacle of meeting your demand. Like your demand may be there, but your materials are limited, or labors could be limited, even machine hours could be limited. One of these resources could be limited, which cannot fulfill the demand. If one of these resources is limited, you cannot produce all the required products, like you cannot meet your demand. So what are you going to do? Obviously, the product gives you highest contribution, highest profit. You'd like to produce that one. This is the fundamental idea of your limiting factor. We've got to follow a few steps. But before that, let's check out one easy illustration example. Example number 4, illustration number 4, limiting factor. A business sells a single product for 35 per unit. Variable costs given. Material 3 kg needed. And for 1 unit, and 3 per kg, 3 times by 3 equals to 9 cost per unit material. And labor is 2 hours needed per unit, 7.5, so it's 15, right? Pound. Then fixed costs are given as well. Materials limiting factor, they straight told you materials you have limited, like you don't have enough materials. How much materials you have? It's 360,000 kg limited. So to produce 1 unit of item unit 3 kg, so you have 360,000 kg materials. 360 divided by 3, you can produce 120,000 units, not more than that. You might have your labor hours a lot, but your materials are not that available. Scarcity, we also call it scarce resources. Well, with that, let's do a mini income statement. Until profit, sales 120,000 units, we're going to sell at 35 pound, total sales given. Variable costs 9 plus 15, material and labor. This is material, this is labor per unit, times by 100,000 unit. That's your variable cost equals to, you get contribution, and less fixed cost, you get profit for the year. What if the labor hours were limiting, like 280,000 labor hours available only? They told you to produce 1 unit, how many labor hours are needed? 2 hours needed to produce 1 unit. So if you have 280,000 labor hours divided by 2, you can produce 140,000 units. So based on 140,000, your profit is more because you're producing more units, producing and selling more units, isn't it? 740,000 is the profit. Then the product mixing, more than one product. Practically, businesses sell more than one product, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, many products. Now, if out of this A, B, C, or even D, in your assessment, not more than 3 they're going to give you. If 3 products are there and your material or labor, either of these is limited, which one would you like to produce? Would you produce A as much as B? The answer is the product, whichever product gives you higher contribution. Higher contribution, yes, more profit. You're going to produce that one. But basically, here we need to take into account contribution per unit of limiting factor. There are a few steps which we need to follow. Step number 1, first, you need to identify the limiting factor. Which one is the limiting factor? Most of the time it is labor hour, but it could be materials as well, or even could be machine hour. Calculate the contribution per unit, which is sales less variable cost. You already know it. Third step is very important. Calculate contribution per unit of limiting factor. Yeah, calculate contribution per unit of limiting factor. This is contribution or CM margin over limiting factor, like limiting factor per unit, and CM margin per unit, or contribution per unit divided by limiting factor per unit. Like if your contribution per unit is let's say 5 pound and limiting factor is labor hour, 2 hours there, so 5 over 2. Whatever you get is known as contribution per unit limiting factor. Then, if it is A, B, C, 3 products, which you're going to check it out in a minute, you got to rank which one gives you the highest contribution per unit of limiting factor. First, second, and third. That's how you got to rank. If the first one, whichever gives you the highest contribution per unit of limiting factor, you're going to produce that much as much as possible than any labor hour remaining. Next one, then any hour, labor hour remaining. Next one. Let's practice this with some facts and figures. Illustration number 4, more than one product. Random Engineering makes 3 products, A, B, C. The costs and selling prices of 3 products are materials, £4 per kg. So for if it is 8 pound is the total cost, so 8 divided by 4 equals to 2 kg needed. 16 divided by 4 equals to 4 kg needed. 12 divided by 4 equals to 3 kg needed. Yeah, 2, 4, 3 kg needed. That's a little working you always should do, whether needed or not. Definitely needed. Direct labor 7 pound. 7 pound per hour. So for each 7, that means 7 divided by 7, 1 hour needed here. 21 divided by 7 equals to 3 hours needed. 14 divided by 7 equals to 2 hours needed. So 2, 3, 1 hours needed. Variable costs given. And what is this? 18. Total cost. Okay. Total cost. Total variable cost basically. 8 plus 7, 15, 16, 17, 18. And likewise. All of it. You got selling price and sales less variable cost. You get contribution for each of it. So already you have got contribution per unit, step 2, did you not? You need to find out which one is your limiting factor. We don't know yet. Let's read more. Sales demand for the coming period is expected as for A, B, C at different level 3,000, 7,000, 5,000 demands given. Supply of the materials limited 50,000 kg and labor hours available 20,000. Still we don't know which one is limited. Although they said limited to 50,000, but we don't know whether it is a limiting factor or not, because we don't know yet whether they can meet the demand of these units or not. But we can do some works. Let's do little work. Oh, this is an example. So work's been done for you. To produce how much kg of materials needed? 6,000. How do you know it's 6,000? Because the demand is 3,000 times by 2 kg needed to produce one item. Look at this, 2 kg, yeah? 2 kg. So that gives you 6,000. That's how you get the 6,000. So for B, you need how many kg? 4 kg, 1 unit, 4 kg. So 28,000 kg needed. 28,000. That's how you get the 28,000. And for C, we need 3 kg per unit, and 5,000 for 5,000 units. We need 15,000 kg. If you add up all of them, it gives you 49,000. 6 plus 28 plus 15 equals to 49,000 kg. We need 49,000 kg. How much we have available? 50,000 available, isn't it? So this is not your limiting factor. This is available. You already have it. How about the labor? 28,000. Let's see. Now labor. To produce each unit of A, you need how many labor hours? So 1, don't you? So for 3,000, you need 3,000 labor hours, yeah? Which has been done here. And to produce each unit of B, how many labor hours you need? 3 labor hours you need, yeah? 3 labor hours. So 3 times by 7, 21,000 labor hours needed, right? That's your 21,000 labor hours. And for C, they said 10,000. How do you get 10,000? Let me show you. For C, you need 2 labor hours, and your demand is 5,000. 2 times by 5 gives you 10,000 labor hours. Well, so 10,000. If you add all these 3 plus 21 plus 10 equals to 34,000 hours needed to produce ABC. Do you have 34,000 hours? That's the question. Answer is no. You have only 28,000 hours. So, limiting factor. Which one is your limiting factor? Labor hour. That's your step number 1. LH, labor hour, is my limiting factor here. Now, calculate the contribution per unit of limiting factor. Contribution divided by limiting factor, doesn't it? Contribution is already given, 4 divided by limiting factor. Limiting factor is labor hour per unit. Here is 1 hour needed, here is 3 hours needed, and here is 2 hours needed. This working is done at the bottom because it's an example. 487 is the contribution, and labor hours, 1 hour needed. So 4 divided by 1. 4 divided, here you can do 4 divided by 1 equals to 4, contribution per limiting factor. Then 8 divided by 3 hours needed, yeah? Contribution divided by limiting factor, or contribution per unit divided by limiting factor per unit. That's what you're doing. Yeah, what do you get the contribution from? The question they give you. 487 is the contribution. And limiting factor from the question we have worked it out. 132. Yeah. Well, let's do it. 8 divided by 3 equals to 2.67, and 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Contribution per unit of limiting factor, you call it. Which one gives you the highest contribution per unit of limiting factor? Number 4. That's why we call it first. Ranking number first. Last one we do ranking, don't we? Look at this, the steps. Step number 4, by the way, not the last one. After that we allocate the hours based on that. produce the plan basically. Okay, ranking we're doing first, then 350 is the second one. We're going to produce, after producing all of the A, any hours remaining, you're going to produce B. If there's any hours after that remaining, you're going to produce B. Yeah, A is the first, C is the second, and B is the third. Let's do it then. A, demand is 3,000, and to produce each unit of A, we need 1 labor hour. So total 3,000 labor hours we're going to use. C, 5,000 is the demand. And to produce each unit of C, 2 labor hours needed, so 10,000 labor hours should be used. So 10 and 3, 13,000 already used from 28,000. I'd like to take my calculator on screen. 28,000 minus 13,000. 15,000 left, isn't it? 15,000, this is the balancing scale. Look at this. 15,000. Of this 15,000, how many units of B you can produce? They said 5,000. How do you know it? To produce each unit of B, you need 3 hours labor hour. We have calculated here. 21 divided by 7. So you get 3, don't you? And thus 15,000 divided by 3, if you do, you're going to get 5,000. So that is your production plan. If we produce 3,000 unit of A and sell A, contribution per unit is 4, so total contribution of 12, and 5,000 of B, contribution per unit is 8, total contribution of 40,000, and 5,000 of C, contribution per unit is 7, total contribution is 35,000. Added up of all of A, my ultimate contribution is 87,000. If you follow that plan, our profit will be maximized. And this is all about your limiting factor analysis, which we also call scarce resource, or we call it key factor. Hope it helped. Check out the next video on couple of activities. Till then, goodbye.